Revenant Recon is the chase deck out of the 4 Murders at Karlov Manor commander precons, and not without reason. Both the face commander Mirko, Obsessive Theorist, and the secondary commander Marvo, Deep Operative, seem very strong and have interesting mechanics. While the preconstructed deck is ready to go out of the box, there are so many cards from older sets that can make it even better. One such card is the classic Altar of Dementia that makes your graveyard fill fast and steady for Mirko's ability by self-mill. Especially useful when you have a big creature, sack it, and then return it to the battlefield with Mirko anyway. Another artifact you should probably include is the Grim Captain's Locker that lets you surveil simply by tapping it. But the usefulness doesn't end there because escape becomes an option with it. Since Mirko is limited to your own graveyard, why not widen your horizons with Virtue of Persistence? This way you can snatch some nasty creatures from your opponent's graveyards as well. Plus, it has an early cast removal spell built in as an adventure. Filling your own graveyard opens up new synergies, for example with Search of Azcanta, that would flip into its land side quite early and give you an additional mana source as well as a new powerful spell fetcher for later in the game. Think of your opponent's faces if you'd fetch a Breach the Multiverse with it. This card is extremely powerful even in a 1 vs 1 game, but imagine casting it in a game of 4. Starving Revenant brings more of that surveil action for your commander, but also draws you cards. Then you have a life gain effect which can prove useful. If you feel like the graveyard isn't filling fast enough, you can add more cards for that. Go for removal that has it, for example, like Eat to Extinction. You have blue in your commander's color identity, so if you want to include a counterspell, why not Sinister Sabotage? For ordering the top of your library, there's Contingency Plan, where the plan can be to simply self-mill up to 5 cards. There's also Think Tank, if you don't mind paying 3 mana for an enchantment like that. As for creatures not included in the precon that surveil, there's a plethora to choose from, ranging from the very powerful to cheap uncommon level filler. Eloy's Nephalia Sleuth brings you some neat clue tokens that you can then sacrifice and get additional value from. House Guildmage might not seem much, but if it's surveilling you want surveilling you get with this guy. City Watch Sphinx might fill in the gap of having a large flyer and a possible blocker, and Fairy Dream Thief quite the opposite, a cheap 1 mana surveiler that can be used to block then draw you a card if needed. Then there's the 2 split cards, Discovery Dispersal, part of which surveils, and Concoct with the same effect. Both of them give you that extra bit of control that might come in useful aside from pumping up your commander. If you want to benefit from self-mill, you can add creatures that can be cast from the graveyard or cards with from graveyard effects. Blood Operative, for example, benefits from the constant surveilling with the deck. But enough about Mirko. Let's focus on the possibilities the Squid gives you in case you're more interested with running the secondary commander. Casting an 8 mana spell for free brings some much desired fun to the table, provided it's you who desires it. Let's go through some of the coolest 8 mana drops in Dimir colors that you could cast this way. One with the Multiverse is a classic gift that keeps on giving, letting you cast even more of those high mana spells for free. The 3 Myojin cost exactly 8 mana, so you have the Myojin of Cryptic Dreams that copies a permanent you control 3 times, and you do cast it from your hand with Marvo. Similarly to the Myojin of Grim Betrayal that can return all the creatures that got taken out of the battlefield this turn in exchange for its indestructibility counter. The third Myojin, the one of Night's Reach, is quite nasty as it makes your opponents discard their whole hands. Tempting to add to your deck, isn't it? Shard of the Nightbringer is a card from the Universes Beyond Warhammer 40k that's a massive life drainer when it's cast from your hand, meaning it's perfect to cast with Marvo's ability. You have a selection of big flying boys to enter the battlefield and wreak havoc for 8 mana actually. Archfiend of Despair generally doubles the damage your opponents took and also turns off life gain for them. Archon of Cruelty is not as strong here as it would be in a Tergrid deck, but an overall value card for when it attacks. And Hoarding Broodlord tutors for the card you might want as the final piece of your combo. Want to make your opponents hate you? Grab the best spell they haven't gotten a chance to play yet directly from their hand. Ouch. Not enough? There's even an 8 mana creature that gives you an extra turn, and that is the Sphinx of the Second Sun. Be sure to like the video if you found it helpful and share in the comment section what are your discoveries for cards that work well with the precon I didn't include. Have a great day and catch you in another video.